Today is Rosh Chodesh, which is a happy occasion, something we want to celebrate. But it's also a very significant day in our history, the history of the Jewish people. So to begin, I'd like to introduce the chair of our Jewish History Department. No applause, no recognition. This is a quiet program. Ms. Miriam Wielgus.
Today, as Rabbi Beta said, is November 9th, 2018, and it marks the 80th anniversary of Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass. That's the German word for the Night of Broken Glass. What a terrible, euphemistic, almost poetic-sounding name for such a terrible day in Jewish history. The name Kristallnacht was given by the Nazis. It's a name that masks the true horror of what happened. This was not merely a night of broken glass, but was the night that was the beginning of the end. What happened on the night of November 9th, 1938? Why, of all the terrible events of the Holocaust, do we choose to remember and commemorate this one? The face that you see on the screen is a boy about your age. His name was Herschel Greenspan. He was a 17-year-old teenager. He was born in Germany, but by 1938, this young boy was a refugee living in Paris all alone. His parents were Polish Jews who had emigrated from Poland and settled in Germany. In the summer of 1938, the Gestapo was ordered to arrest and deport all Polish Jews living in Germany. The Greenspan family was among the thousands of Polish Jews that were arrested, stripped of their property, and herded on trains headed for Poland. They get to Poland, and Poland shuts the door. They could not go into Poland. They're stranded at the border, under the most horrific conditions you can imagine. Thousands of men, women, and children crowded together. Literally, they were forced to stay in pigsties with little food and water. It was so bad that some Jews actually tried to escape back to Germany, and they were shot. When Herschel heard what had happened to his parents, he was so overcome with anger and despair that he walked into the German embassy in Paris and assassinated Ernst von Roth, a German embassy official stationed in Paris. He had a gun hidden on his coat. Back in Germany, the Nazi propaganda minister, the man you see here, Joseph Goebbels, a tremendous Rasha, who had been planning these attacks against the Jews all along, used this assassination as an excuse to unleash a wave of pogroms that lasted through the 10th of November. Rioters in Germany, in Austria, and the Sudetenland destroyed 267 synagogues. SA and Hitler Youth members, people your age, across the country, shattered the store windows of 7,500 Jewish-owned businesses and looted them. Jewish cemeteries were desecrated in many regions. Torah scrolls were burnt and desecrated. On Kristallnacht, at least 91 Jews were killed. A high number of suicides occurred in the aftermath of the violence, and 30,000 Jews were sent to concentration camps in Germany. You all know about Auschwitz, but did you know there were concentration camps in Germany by 1938? To add insult to injury, the Nazis forced the Jewish communities to pay for all the damages. They blamed the Jews for the looting and the burning and the attacks. Why is this all so important? Kristallnacht was a turning point in Nazi Germany's persecution of the Jews. In its wake, the Nazis realized that ordinary Germans did not protest. In fact, most Germans stood by and cheered, watching the looting, the burning, and the beating. The firemen literally stood by and watched as the flames consumed all those synagogues in Germany and Austria and the Sudetenland. But it wasn't only in Germany that there were passive bystanders. The world at large did not respond forcefully. Rabbi Beta just sent me an article yesterday by a prominent historian who showed that in our country, shamefully, FDR, our president, responded so weakly, so parv. Oh, it was a bad thing that happened. Nothing else. No help was extended to the Jews. The Nazis understood that they were now free to escalate their persecution of Jews. Ultimately, as we all know, The Nazis moved from pogroms and legal discrimination to genocide, the attempt to annihilate the Jewish people. So what lessons can we learn from Kristallnacht? Now, despite what many people think, and I know some of my senior students get angry when I say this, especially in light of the recent tragedy in Pittsburgh, I don't think the lesson is it can happen here. America is not Nazi Germany, and anti-Semitism has never been an official or sanctioned part of the American political system. It's not an instrument of state policy the way it was in Nazi Germany. And to quote Elie Wiesel, only Auschwitz is Auschwitz. We need to be careful when we compare the Holocaust to other tragedies or persecutions, because when we do so, we cheapen and pervert the true significance and singular nature of the Holocaust. Nevertheless, it is true, we're not blind. We know we're living in dangerous times. Anti-Semitism is on the rise here in the United States, in Europe, and elsewhere. And that's where we come in. As individuals and as a community, what do we need to do? We need to stand up and protest. Whenever and wherever we see anti-Semitism, we dare not be silent. And we must never, ever close our eyes or be complacent about any radical ideology, conduct, or violence that espouses hate towards any group or people. Every year, I say the same thing over the intercom. Kristallnacht is a symbol of how prejudice can spread when left unchecked. That's a very nice thought. But I don't think until this year we ever really understood the significance of these words. How sad, how tragic that the events of just a few weeks ago in Pittsburgh have driven home this message in the most terrible way imaginable. Rabbi Beda.
Thank you for those thoughtful and beautiful words, Ms. Wielgus. We don't need to talk about what happened in Pittsburgh to understand that hatred is alive today. But it is important for us to realize that we don't stand silently. We're going to watch a short memorial video for the victims of Pittsburgh, and then you're going to hear from two students that represented you, the Yeshiva of Flatbush, in Pittsburgh 1 week ago yesterday. Guys,
tonight, the last of the victims from the mass shooting at the synagogue in Pittsburgh has been laid to rest. A sea of mourners turning out to honor 97-year-old Rose Mallinger, who was killed along with 10 others as they gathered to pray. And our final segment here was inspired by this morning's powerful cover of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. The headline, the first words of the Kaddish, the Jewish mourner's prayer. And on this first Sabbath since the shooting, we asked Cantor Ozzie Schwartz of the Park Avenue Synagogue here in New York to help us honor them by reciting the Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חון וביומי חון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We, the Jewish people, are no stranger to tragedies. Our ancestors were banished from Spain in the 1400s, and persecuted in pogroms in Eastern Europe. Through Witness Theater, we interact with Holocaust survivors. It seems that our people's past, even from the time of the Bible, has been intertwined with suffering. Suffering for the sole reason of being Jewish. We've learned about anti-Semitism in the classroom and read about it in the textbooks, but we thought it was a thing of the past. We heard about anti-Semitic attacks in Europe, but thought that would never come to America. We thought we could be free to believe in God and practice religion however we want, but I guess we were wrong. A few weekends ago, when I opened my phone after Shabbat and read about the massacre of the people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, I was horrified. Reading about the shooting made me feel like the history of Jewish suffering and diaspora was beginning again. I knew that I wanted and needed to reach out to show the people of Pittsburgh, my community, and to the extent of all Jews, were there for them. I wanted to show that the Jewish people couldn't be divided and together. With Akdut, the Hebrew word for unity, we could preserve through any hatred from our assailants. I was honored that through my role as an elected student leader, that I was selected to represent all of you, our school, on a mission of solidarity with the people of Pittsburgh. Together with Jack Deck and Rabbi Bida, I had an experience that we had to share.
This Pittsburgh mission that started out as a journey to try to console others evolved into an experience that provoked introspection into every aspect of my life. We started our day at the Pittsburgh police station to visit the SWAT team. They were the first to respond to the shooting, and they captured the assailant. We entered a conference room and were greeted by two women who were anxious. They were waiting for their fiancés to return from a different room. This tragedy had them so shook. The idea of their companion leaving their side for just 1 second made them wince. These women understood that nothing could be taken for granted. Right away, I began to look at this tragedy from a new perspective, the perspective of the Pittsburgh locals. Although I was already devastated, being in the exact sector of Pittsburgh, meeting with the exact people involved in the tragedy, offered a unique form of empathy that I never knew I could attain. The 4 policemen walked in. I stood to greet them one by one, thanking them for their services. Once I reached the officer who was wearing a sling, due to the bullet shot by the killer, upon shaking his hand, my knees weakened. A tragedy so far away, just a few days ago, was now so tangible in a way I could have never conceived. I was shaking the hand that fired the gun that apprehended the killer. Although most of the information was classified, the first response team was able to relay over to us their heart-wrenching encounters with this killer. One of the officers was still deaf from the flash grenade thrown to disorient the murderer. This man was deaf from the same grenade he threw to overcome the murderer. It was all incomprehensible. We visited a family who was mourning the loss of their beloved sister. As you saw in the video, her name was Joyce Feinberg. This particular Shiva call highlighted the religious disparity, yet close-knit unity of this Pittsburgh community. The Stein family, who were sitting Shiva for Miss Feinberg, were highly Orthodox. However, their sister Joyce was not. This didn't matter. The stories we heard from the niece of Miss Feinberg told her tale. Although she wasn't so religious, she was sensitive to all of their religious concerns. When she bought her 1-year-old grandniece a birthday present, she didn't forget to leave a check with some extra money so they could buy a toy that she could play with on Shabbat that wasn't electric. We prayed Mincha at that home. Being able to hear firsthand the Kaddish of a mourner who suffered the loss of a loved one from the massacre known worldwide was overwhelming. Then we went to the Tree of Life Synagogue, a Bet Knesset like any other Bet Knesset in the country. It struck us that our enemies do not know who watches TV on Shabbat, who eats on Yom Kippur, or how religious any Jew is. He knew we were Jews, and that was enough. The shul was in the hilly suburbs of Pittsburgh. It seemed peaceful, but like any other tragedy, the peace is disrupted by one man, or many men. As we were heading out, one of the friends of the wife of Richard Gottfried asked us what our business was here. We told her that we were fellow Jews from the community in Brooklyn who felt that we need to pay our respects. Upon hearing that we flew in from Brooklyn, she immediately ushered us into the home. The wife, siblings, and children of Mr. Gottfried were so overwhelmed and appreciative of our efforts to come comfort them. They embraced us endlessly, cried in our arms, and explained how we are all Jews, we are all one, and we must stick together. Unfortunately, we live in a world where tragedies are pervasive. It's hard to find an explanation. We can only reflect, look at the good, and move forward. The stories I heard of the people who died in the massacre were beautiful. These people led special lives, lives we should all learn from. I'm thankful for being chosen to represent my school in Pittsburgh. It changed my life.
We respond to such a loss. We say Hazit, and then we go back to our lives. It's so easy to do that, isn't it? But it's not the right answer. Rabbi Soloveitchik had an interesting thought about this. He said that when terrible things happen, our instinct is to ask lama, why? Why did this terrible thing happen? But he said, we are pronouncing that word wrong. Instead of asking lama, we need to ask lama, what? Not why did this happen, but what can I do to help? When you hear terrible news, it's easy to feel sad for a while and then move on. But that's not enough. Those people need you. I know it's easy to feel helpless, especially when tragedy strikes far from home. But you're not helpless. No matter how far away you are or how insignificant you feel, there is always something tangible that you can do to help. All you have to do is ask lama, what can I do to help? Your answer doesn't even have to be original. You can send notes of love and support to those who are grieving. If you can't be there yourself to help clean up, help rebuild, or do Bikur Cholim, you can find a way to support the people who are doing those things. Organize fundraisers and food drives, or participate in the ones organized by others. Donate blood. I know sometimes it seems like our actions are too small to make a real difference. But kindness grows. This month, we will light the menorah with just a single tiny flame. But each night, our one flame will grow larger, and it will light the world. If we take action, instead of just saying Hazit, we can help the people in pain, prevent or minimize the next act of senseless violence, or make the world a less hateful place. Each candle has the power to light the world. There are many examples of extraordinary people whose reaction to the massacre in Squirrel Hill was to look for ways to help. Two of them are your classmates who you just heard from. But right now, I want to tell you the story of a couple of people in Squirrel Hill who came up with an interesting answer to the question, lama. Melissa Lysot is the manager of the Starbucks in Squirrel Hill. She wanted the community to know that they are loved and supported. So she hired a local artist named Nicole Flannery to paint 3 murals in the store's 3 big windows. This is what Flannery painted. The words love, kindness, and hope appear under 3 large hearts. Inside the first heart is a Magen David. Inside the second is a tree, an obvious reference to the name of the shul. Inside the third heart is a dove carrying an olive branch. And beneath each heart, next to each word, is the Hebrew translation of that word. Flannery doesn't speak Hebrew. She had to ask a couple of Jewish friends to translate the words for her. But she said later that the Hebrew words are the most important part of the murals. Love, kindness, and hope. Ahava, chesed, tikva. One leads to the next. Our love compels us to perform acts of kindness, which in turn give hope to those who need it. Only with ahava and chesed can we rightfully sing hatikva. It is the song of our homeland, the song of our people, the song of a people who will never stop loving, never stop doing chesed, and never lose hope.
Four years ago, during the Gaza war, there was a woman in Belgium, 92 years old, who fell and hurt herself. Her son called the local medical assistance, and when the dispatcher heard and the doctor heard the woman's name, a Jewish name, the response was, "Oh, your mother's Jewish? I'm not coming to help her." The son said, "But my mother's in great pain." The doctor said, "You want to feel pain? Go to Gaza." That in itself is a terrible story. But the next part is the worst part of the story. There was a Jewish man in the family who responded in the following way: "I don't understand what they want from us. We don't live in Israel. We have nothing to do with Palestinians. We live in Belgium. Why are they upset with us? We didn't do anything. That statement can never be said by a Jewish person. If something happens in the world, we need to feel, and we need to care. What I'd like to do now is to show that we care the way we do it at the Yeshiva of Flatbush. We're going to sing 2 songs. But we're not just singing as a kumsitz. We're not just singing because we like to sing. But we're singing because we care. The first song is called Achenu. And I think you know what that song means. Think in your heart. Think in your heart about people who need help. And think in your heart that we care for other people. Robert. Achenu kol beit Yisrael. Achenu kol beit Yisrael. Hanetunim batzara, tzara uvashivya, haomdim yam uveim dayavasha. Achenu kol beit Yisrael. Achenu kol beit Yisrael. Hanetunim batzara, batzara uvashivya, omdim veim bayam, veim bayam. Hamahakom yirachem, yirachem alei, v'yotziyeim lirevacha u'me'afil aliyora ligeula hashta bagala u'visman karim hamahakom yirachem aleihem v'yotziyeim tzara Feila liora umishibut legeula hashta bagala uvisman. Second and last song is one of hope, one that we say on Passover night, the one that you know very well, but it has a tremendous meaning that no matter what generation, no matter what enemy tries to erase us, the fact that we're together and God blesses us, we will always be here forever. 2, 3, 4. Vehi she'amta lavoteinu, Vehi she'amdam lavoteinu velanu, Elo echad amar aleinu lechalotenu, Amar aleinu lechalotenu, again. Vehi she'amda lavoteinu, Vehi she'amda lavoteinu, Shelo echad aleinu lechalotenu, Amar aleinu lechalotenu, Ve'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu, matzilenu mi'adam. Ve'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu, matzilenu. One more time, a little more feeling. Vehi she'amta lavoteinu, Vehi she'amta lavoteinu velanu, Shelo echad avad amar aleinu lechalotenu, Amar aleinu lechalotenu, Vehi she'amda lavoteinu, Vehi שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד אמר עלינו לכלותנו, אמר עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידה. La 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 lum, la la lum, la 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 lum, la 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 la, oh oh oh, la 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 la, dum dee doo doo doo, dee da. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for a beautiful program. I just want to add one thought that I think is really important, and that hopefully is a good conclusion to a Rosh Chodesh program that leads us to a happy month, the month of Kislev. I was with Esther and Jack in Pittsburgh last week at the police department talking to the SWAT team. And as we all stood in awe of the bravery that these amazing police officers showed to rush into the face of gunfire in order to save people they didn't know, but they did know were Jewish, it struck me that we were 1 week away from Kristallnacht. And I spoke to the group and I said, you know, it's really interesting to me that 80 years ago today, Kristallnacht took place, and it took place at the direction of the police of Germany. I said, and here we stand with the police of Pittsburgh, and look at how different they are. They're willing to risk their lives to save ours. And as I was saying that, the commandant, the head of the entire police department of Pittsburgh, nearly jumped out of his seat to stand next to me and say, Rabbi, and everyone that's here, I want you to know something. When we train our officers, there's 1.5 day where we take them out of the police academy. Our cadets in training leave the training center and they go to the Pittsburgh Holocaust Memorial. He said, and we stand there at the Pittsburgh Holocaust Memorial with our trainees, and we tell them, and this is his words, that in Germany on Kristallnacht, the police participated. And we, he said, the police, law and order, are the difference between Nazi Germany and America. And I just want you to know, Rabbi, that we're with you and we care. And when I heard this story, I was more blown away by that than anything else, and there were a lot of things that blew us away in that one day. But what I felt, and I think we all have to feel, is thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, for the United States of America. Not only the idea of the United States of America, the actual United States of America that we live in, that cares for us, that loves us, that protects us, that gives us a place that we could live in peace and tranquility. And that when the few, hopefully few, anti-Semites and people that will do us wrong stand up, they have our back. They're here to protect us. One of the core values of our yeshiva is appreciation and love for the United States of America. We can never forget it. It's a beracha from Hashem. Nothing less than a beracha from Hashem. And when you get a beracha from Hashem, you have to recognize it. It's one of the most important messages in the whole Torah, is that when Hashem gives you a beracha, realize it, appreciate it, say thank you for it. That's what it means to be religious. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is, normally we close assemblies with Hatikva, and we'll do that today as well. But we're also going to stand and say the Star-Spangled Banner for the country that we love. That's a beracha from Hashem. If everyone could please rise and stand for our national anthem.
Oh, say can you sing by the dawn's early light, once so proudly at the twilight's last gleaming, whose Rosh shines and Christ on through the perilous night. Still there, oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Focus to the side, please.
I'm proud of all of you. You should be proud of yourselves. Let's have a beautiful Chodesh Kislev. The holiday of Hanukkah is coming. Let's make sure that our light is the light that spreads to the whole world.